Hi, everyone. Welcome to Grab Your Keys. I am Sue Meitner, and I'm super excited today to have Colleen DiFabio, who is the owner of BI3 Careers. She is the trusted connector for talent teams and transformation. So I had the lucky chance of meeting you at a women's event a couple months ago, and we just connected. Like, I was like, you are my type of woman. So I had to have you on Grab Your Keys. So welcome to Grab Your Keys, Colleen.
Thank you so much, Sue. And I agree with you. When you're in a room, sometimes there's just couple people that you're going to connect with. And I knew that we were going to connect.
Yes.
And I'm so grateful that we did, because you having me on the show today and doing the refi, all kinds of things.
We got to save you lots of money.
Yes.
But what I really want to hear about is, how did you start your business?
So, okay, I it's interesting. I've actually owned two companies. The first company was almost 20 years ago, and I decided, after being a stay-at-home mom for a couple of years, it was time for me to go back to work.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going to work for a couple of different people that I knew doing recruiting. And I really had never been a recruiter before, but I knew that it was going to lead me to the right place. But I wanted to be staying at home. And a couple of people I knew in the industry were like, hey, I'd hire you and you can stay at home all you want. Because I didn't want to really leave my kids. I wanted it to be an evolution, right? So I started to work for this so I had to name my company. And my husband at the time, I'm divorced now, but I said, what should I name my company? It wasn't really going to be like my name out to the public. Right. I was really behind the scenes working for a different company, but he's like, you're Bulldog, name it Bulldog Staffing.
I love that.
So I did. And then years later, I worked for some great companies for some time. And then after one experience, I was like, you know what? This is the time for me to start my own company. And then I called my company BI3 Careers, the second company, because it stands for be insightful, be impactful, be inspirational. So now this was, obviously this is client facing and also candidate facing. And so I really wanted to live like it's about being intentional, right?
Right.
I was at a point in my life where I was very comfortable with who I was and the message that I want to send out to the public. And then the 3 stands for, the candidate, my client, and my company. It has to work for all of us, the opportunity, or it's not going to work. And, I've worked in places that were very transactional. It was like, just figure out if they can work there and just kind of throw it out there. That's not who I am. I'm about learning about the person, learning about my client's needs, and then trying to make the proper connection so that we can all make an impact. And then I really do feel like we all should inspire one another.
Right. So it's like a stool. You need the 3 legs of the stool in order to sit on the stool without it, toppling over.
Yes.
So you have to like constantly manage all 3 so everyone's happy, and then everyone has a great position and experience. So I want to go back to what you said about going from being a stay-at-home mom to like the workforce. How did you balance that? I mean, how did that work?
So it was an evolution. I started to work. I ended up working really just for one company at that time. And because I felt that company was aligned with what I was aligned with, and they worked the way I like to work. So I ended up working with that company for 10 years. It was a startup. I was the first employee, actually. And the owner of the company understood, because he had 4 children himself, understood where I was coming from. I had a 1, 2, and a 3-year-old at the time. And I didn't want to just, all of a sudden I was home with them and then I'm out the door. So It was a pivot, but it was a kind of a thoughtful pivot. So first I started to recruit for this company. And then I eventually said, after my kids got used to me working a little bit, then I was like, all right, let me take on one client. And then I would be out of the house sometimes. But for those whole 10 years I worked there, I always worked from home. So
Right.
he was understanding of like, I want to put my kids on the bus and I want to maybe not be there when they get off the bus. I was able to utilize babysitters and different family, but it was important for me to be present. I wanted to be homeroom mom. I wanted to lead activities at their schools, and I wanted to be there for their their life events.
Right. Right. I did the same thing. So I always like to ask moms how they made that transition, because it is kind of like a three-ring circus, like really, we can be
It's a
honest.
juggling act.
And you're trying to juggle your career, which you've thrown back into the mix, and you're trying to juggle the kids and doing everything. And it is a lot. I actually barely remember my 30s and 40s. I was like this,
I would agree with that.
A blur. So because you're just juggling everything and getting to the basketball games and making sure you're at the field hockey field. And I remember I'd always tell the story of being at one of my children's basketball games, and my parents would come, and every time they put one of my kids in, I'd be on the phone, and then they put one of my kids in, and then my mom would go, Allison's in or Drew's in, and I'd be like, okay, I'm watching now, and then and then back onto the screen. So
you did what you had to do. I mean,
you got to do what you have to do. So what do you feel are your 3 keys to success?
I would say first and foremost, and this is something that has been consistent. Okay. Being consistent. Like if I'm not consistent, if I wasn't consistent 10 years ago, 20 years ago, I wouldn't be consistent today. Right. Yeah. Keeping your word, walking the talk. And I try to instill that in my own children. If you tell me you're going to take out the trash, take out the trash. Don't ask. I don't want to have to follow up with you. I want to know that that's going to be taken care of. And it's the same with our candidates and our clients. If I tell a client I'm going to have a candidate for you by Friday, I'm going to be working towards that goal. And if I don't, I need to inform them what are my challenges, because it does come down to communication. So being consistent in the way you work, right? And then I would say being positive. I'm definitely a positive person. I feel like I was lucky, Sue, to be born positive. Not everybody is. So I feel like God graced me with that, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm very positive too. I totally get that. Being optimistic is a gift.
Things are always going to happen. It's how we react to it.
Do you think that you're born that way or you're raised that way?
Well, I have a brother and a sister. I'm definitely the most positive out of them. I will say my mom always says that I was born that way. And I have 3 kids myself, and they all have different personalities. One is more positive than the other 2. But they all have their special superpowers, I would say.
Right.
I'd say being adaptable. Like, change is always going to happen, right? You've been in this industry for a long time. I've been in my industry for a long time. If you cannot be adaptable, you will not survive in any industry. So being open to change, being open to seeing what the next big thing is, and putting like the right process in place to be able to handle change. If you hire a bunch of like black and white people that, only can see, one side of things, like, so you need to be able to ask the right questions when you're interviewing people to build a team of people that will be okay with change.
Right. Because change will happen, and you need people who are going to solve problems.
Nothing stays the same. We know that.
Nothing stays the same. And nor do we want it to stay the same.
Right.
So I always think change is very good. What's a challenge that shaped your leadership the most, and how did it change you?
So I worked at a couple different places in my career, and one place just didn't align with me personally, right? The people, the way they worked didn't align with me personally. And, I gave myself permission to pivot. I resigned. And I think the advice that I would give people is don't stay where it doesn't feel right. If something doesn't feel right, it's not right. Listen to your intuition, right? So don't stay where you don't fit in. And then also I would say the other thing is, this is something you learn as you grow. You don't need to be the smartest person in the room. You don't need to talk first. Now I try to make a conscious effort when I'm in meetings to talk last. If you're the manager of the people and you're talking first, you're going to influence them by the things you say. And your company isn't going to change at all if everybody just does what they think you want to do.
Right.
So, give yourself permission to make a change, and also understand that you don't need to be the smartest person in the room.
Right. Sometimes it's better to surround yourself with smarter people.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And then you learn a lot.
But that experience is the reason I started my own company. And, I don't live in the past. I looked towards the future, and that ended up being the best thing that could have happened to me.
Right.
The best decision I made was to start my own company.
Right. And did you feel that was a risk?
It was a risk.
Yeah.
It was a huge risk. Huge. I could have gone to work for another company and made a great living. But would I have felt like I was able to do those three things, be insightful, be impactful, be inspirational? No, I was there to make somebody else money, right? Now, not everybody, people want to do things for the right reasons most of the time, but I wanted to be able to control my own future. And that's exactly what I have been able to do. Starting my own company has given me a freedom. My parents are older now. I get to take them to the doctors. That's a privilege.
Yes.
It's a privilege. And I wouldn't have been able to do the things that I do if I worked for somebody else.
Right. Right. In the careers space right now, where are you seeing things? How are careers for people going these days in 2026?
25 was definitely a down year. A lot of recent college grads still don't have jobs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I do try to give advice so I do work a lot with recent college grads as well as people mid-career. I do think that it has been challenging for everyone, no matter where you're at in your career. Mm-hmm. Companies are reacting to the economy. They didn't hire as much in 2025. 2026 has started out like guns blazing. Everybody wants to hire, but I don't see that going through the entire year. Mm-hmm. And I will say that people are taking longer to make hiring decisions.
Well, they want to make the right decision because
they want to make the right decision.
Isn't it costly to hire the wrong person and then have to replace them?
Yes. So it's taking longer for people to hire. But there's always going to be a need for people.
Right.
There's always going to be a need for quality talent. So the better your network is with the right people, the better you're going to be because you're bringing the right people to the table. I always tell people networking is great, but do the right networking. You don't want to be everywhere. Your time is valuable. My time is valuable. Right. Your time is valuable. Network at the right places with the right people and build the right network.
Right. No, I totally agree with that. How do you see AI fitting in all of this? That's a big topic these days.
Especially most of the placements we do are related to information technology. So it is huge. It's not going away. Automation has always been there. I work a lot in the process improvement space. This is the next form of process improvement. But so it's automation, process optimization, and it does reduce headcount in some spaces. But, in my field, we can use an automated tool to scan resumes, but we can't use, there's nothing that's going to replace the human interaction. And also that gut instinct that a human will get. Because we got AI is doing interviews now, but a human is going to pick up on different cues that AI is not going to. So it's here. Just like any other change, we have to incorporate it as best we can, be open to it.
Right. It doesn't read the emotion of it and the emotion of the person and how they would be, what their emotional intelligence might be. Which Correct. Is so important these days, to have the empathy, the kindness, the understanding within a team, because that's how a team works. Like when somebody can't do one thing, the other person has to do it. And that's makes the world go round. And if they don't have that emotional intelligence, which I think is so important these days, they can't read the tea leaves.
Absolutely. I always say your IQ might get you a job, but your EQ will get you the promotion. And AI isn't able to do those things yet. I don't know that it'll never be able to replace a human emotion, right? And when you're like, I work with a partner, a great partner, Lean Agile Intelligence, and they have a platform, and it does measure the collaboration of a team and the cohesiveness of a team. And the cool part about it is it's measuring these different things like the trust of a team, things like that. But then it's using AI to provide recommendations and coaching recommendations. But the only way to get that information is to get the human piece from the teams.
Right.
So when you can use it together, it's really powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that if you're not using an automated system on a daily, hourly, then you're really leaving yourself in the dust.
Yeah, you have to use, you can't just keep doing, you have to figure out how can my business be better by utilizing AI. But like, we look at 1,000 resumes a week, and I can tell which ones are AI generated. And so if I don't mind that somebody uses AI, but if they're not smart enough to then make adjustments to it, that tells me something about their emotional intelligence.
Right.
So you put it all together and then you get the sum.
Exactly. So what, that's so important for everyone to hear what you're saying. And, if you're putting your resume through, I just got 10 resumes on my desk. I can tell which ones put through AI. Yeah. And sometimes AI is not right. AI is only as good as what the information you put into it. So that's all super important. What daily discipline do you do every day that's a non-negotiable for you?
Well, so I'm religious as well as spiritual, and I incorporate the two every day. So first of all, Sue, I start my day with coffee so I can be intentional. Right. So what I do is, so there's two people gave me this book when I was going through a difficult time in my marriage. It was called Jesus Calling, I think. I should know. I look at it. I read it every day. And I have for like 4 years. Same book. It's 1 page a day. And I don't really remember it from the year before because I think every year you're different, right? So you take what you need at the time. So read a page a day of that. And then I write my gratitude journal first thing in the morning. 3 things that I'm grateful for. And then 3 things I hope that's going to happen that day. Right. And it's interesting the next morning when I go back and I look at what happened.
Yeah, you put it into the universe.
Mm-hmm, exactly. And
pray on it and put it into the universe.
Yeah. So and I am a big meditator, and I do guided meditations. I mean, I'm a fast mover. It's hard for me to get still.
Me too.
But, with guided meditations, and I do them on gratitude, grace, and abundance. So I do a mix of these throughout the entire year. And I started to do it during COVID.
So gratitude, grace, and abundance, you have guided meditation. How long are those guided meditations?
About 15 minutes. And I do them sometimes in the morning, sometimes in the middle of the day if I need to get grounded, or sometimes I do them at the end of the day, but I do them. Actually, I have 2 dogs and I'm like, all right, time to meditate, guys. Like
they know. It's so funny because I work out 3 times a week. And at the end of the workout, I do a 10-minute meditation. And when I sit on the floor to do the 10-minute meditation, my dog comes and knows that it's time to meditate. And he sits with me.
That's so adorable.
Yeah. He's like, meditation time. So
well, and I wish part of my daily practice was exercising. And that's one of my goals for this year is to, not just get healthier, but be healthier.
然. And I like the muscle training. I've been doing it for a while. So it just does make you feel stronger. And I like to put the meditation in that because if I didn't do it that way, I wouldn't do it. Because the other, 4 days out of the week, I wouldn't do it. So I have to take a page out of your book and do something like that for sure. If we were to fast forward 3 years from now, what do you think you're going to be proud of and to be grateful for and celebrating?
Well, I mean, I do have 3 kids in school, so
Yeah.
hopefully I have 3 graduates, right? College graduates.
Right, because you had 1, 2, and 3, so you have all of them in college, right?
One's in massage therapy school, but yeah, they're all year apart, so they're all
Right.
in school right now.
Yeah.
So the goal would be to have 3 graduates from their schools, right? And that would make me very happy. I mean, I feel like as a mom, as you know, your kids being happy and setting goals and achieving goals makes us happy.
Yes, for sure.
But from a company perspective, so I told you this year is like filled with intention, but it's intention to make positive connections so that we can elevate the company, and so I can elevate myself personally too. So, connection is great, but it has to have the right intention behind it. And it also then has to bring us to a better place. So intention, connection, elevation. So in 3 years, I want to look back and say, you know what? We were doing the right things.
Right.
I was doing the right things for myself and for the company and for my family.
Right. Absolutely. I get the children out of college. I am right there with you for sure. But I just want to touch on your keys to success one more time as we wrap this up for everyone. So being consistent, so important. You've really talked about that throughout the entire podcast today. Keeping your word is just the way that you build relationships. If you don't keep your word, then no one's going to come back to you. And being positive and being adaptable. The positiveness, seeing the glass half full, is always better, especially when you're dealing with careers and relationships and that stool effect, again, of having the 3 different legs of everyone working in the same, towards the same goal.
Yes.
And, being adaptable, hiring the right people and having the right process is, definitely paramount for, what you're working on. And I love that you work with college graduates a lot. And if anyone's looking to hire people or looking to figure out their career, how would they get in touch with you, Colleen?
So, my email, I mean, I can give my cell phone number, 610.
We can put the numbers. And do you have a website?
Yes, it's easy. BI3Careers.com.
Yeah. So anyone who is interested in, talking to Colleen, go to BI3Careers.com. And I think that she'll be great in getting you into the right position or getting a position filled for you. Yes. And having the right process and the right team and the right people on the right seats of the bus is so important. So Colleen, thank you so much for spending some time with us today. I really appreciate it. And
thank you, Sue. You and your team have been fantastic. You clearly have built the right team.
Well, we are constantly trying to perfect the team, and that team changes all the time because people move, people change. So, we really have to always, be grounded and have the right process. So whoever we put in there, it works. But thank you so much for those compliments. I appreciate it. And everyone, be on the lookout for this and more great guests on Grab Your Keys. And I'll see you next time on Grab Your Keys.